This is the AutoXLines instructional. So this is a new indicator that we have. It's called AutoXLines, and you access it through the indicators menu. You find it here once it's installed. So I have it installed on my chart here, and I'll just add it real quick. I had it invisible, but so what's the purpose of AutoXLines? So AutoXLines will automatically draw trend lines, and it'll automatically draw horizontal lines, or some people call them support and resistance lines. And these lines have a feature in them which makes them come alive. So you'll see an on-off button here, and the color obviously changes depending on if the line's on or like that, or if the line's off. So the purpose of these lines is to throw a signal. You can see the signals here. So if a line is on, so we'll take this one for instance, this purple line. If price comes and crosses that line, then it'll throw a signal. And you can set it up to close and cross as well, and then in the future we'll probably maybe put a cross and a retest. But for now, it'll throw a signal depending on the settings. So there's a setting here, it says immediate, so as soon as it touches the line it'll throw a signal, or as soon as it crosses beyond the line it'll throw a signal. So, and what you can do with it is you can just use it as a standalone strategy. If you trade trend lines, or you're a trend line trader, like in this instance it would have been a great example. So it would have automatically drawn that trend line for you, and had you have set up AutoBot and or generator to automate this, you would have gotten a signal. It's disappeared now because I have it set to disappear, but as soon as it crossed above or crossed and closed, you would have got a signal here, and you would have been on your way. So it can be used as a standalone trading system. I mean, I would use it for any candle type. Gamma bars is good, or Renko type, or anything that you really like. And then also you have the support and resistance. So if you're looking for a break, or a break and a close, for breakout situations, that's a good one to use. It can also be used as a condition within generator. So we can set it up to, you got to say, you might say, hey, I take a certain signal, but only if it crossed a trend line within the last 3 bars. You would be able to automate that as a condition in generator as well. Or you could say, you could set this up as a state. So if the last state was a break above the horizontal bullish, if that was the last state, then you would say you would only take trades once it's broken a high. You would set up 2 states in generator. So you would say, this low one, which would be called bearish horizontal cross, or bullish horizontal cross. You would set each of those up as a state 1 and 2. And yeah, you could say, well, it had to have crossed a high last for me to take longs, or it had to have crossed a low last for me to take shorts. So it can be used as a standalone, or it can be used as conditions for generator. You could also use it as an exit condition. So if you were getting long or whatever, and you wanted to say, hey, when I get a bearish horizontal cross, I want out of my trade, and you could set the signal. There's a bearish break, bearish trend, and then there's bullish horizontal. You could just set that as your exit signal as well. So it's basically, it's auto trend lines, auto support and resistance, but it's fully automatable. Now, since we're here, there is another one called Manual X Lines. It's not out yet. It'll be out soon. And what you can do is you can just draw your own line. So there's a line that I drew, and you can turn it on, and you can manually move them wherever you want to. I won't get too far into this because I'll just make another video when it comes out. But if you were to, if it was news, the Fed announcement or something, you might come in and do something like that, where you would come really close to the line, and you would say, hey, a break above or a break below, I want to get in and scalp this move. If it's like a Fed announcement or something, that's kind of a good way to use that. Or you could just use it as regular trading. So But I'll get into that in another video. I'll just show you there's two more tools that I have. So live trend line. So obviously this is it's a manual trend line instead of an auto. Okay, so the only difference is that you draw it yourself. And then I have a live Fibonacci. So it's going to be the same thing if you were looking for like a fib retracement or something like that. You know, in this instance here, you would just go and you would turn the ones off that you don't want. So let's say you're trying to get into that golden zone, that 61.8 to 78.6. In this case, you would have just set it up like this. So you would have seen your low here, and you would have seen your high, and you would say, okay, if it comes back to the golden zone, I want in. So right there, as soon as it crosses that line, because that line is on, it's going to throw a signal for you. And just like anything else, you can use the signal for whatever you want as a condition within a group of signals in generator, or entry, exit, break even, trailing. Could be used for anything, but we're not going to get too much into that. I just want to show the auto lines for today. Let's get into some settings. You know what? Let's just watch it run for a second. Let's just do it. So you can see it broke that line and it threw a signal. So now it's going to go. It's going a little bit too fast now, but you can kind of see it running. It's just auto creates support and resistance, and as soon as a new one comes in, it'll delete the old one. And you can set the strength of these, right? So you can set the strength higher, so it takes a lot more for a new trend line to print, or you can set it so it takes a lot less. But yeah, you can just see, and they shut off after it crosses, that way you don't get double signals on the same line. But you can turn it back on manually if you want to. But it's set to, if it crosses the line once, it shuts off, because then, just like this situation, when price goes up and down, you don't want 20 signals in one spot. So that's how I have it set. And you can just kind of see it working away there. So I have them both on. And let's get into some settings now. So what kind of settings do we have? Well, you can turn on the horizontal lines and the trend lines separately. So in this case, you're just going to see horizontal lines. If I turn on trend lines and turn the other one off, you're just going to see trend lines come up. So either or, you don't have to have both. And let's get into a couple of settings. So the strength, just like I said, you can change, how often you're going to get a new one. So it defaults to 5. If I were to do 10, you can see there's one there and there. If I were to do 50, you would see it needs a bigger pivot. It needs to find a bigger, more defined pivot before it's going to create a horizontal line. So this might be better for some situations. Who knows? Yeah, so if I put it back to 5 and I hit apply, you're going to see what happens here, how they come down closer, and they're taking smaller pivots. So that's how the strength settings work. Number of lines. So when you have one set, which is what I have, and I think that's default, it just means one above, one below. And same thing for the trend lines, one above, one below. So one of each. You're going to get basically a long one or a bullish one, and you're going to get a bearish one. So if I set this to 2, now you're going to get 2 of each. So you're going to get 2 of the bullish, 2 of the bearish. You can see this one was crossed, so it's off now. But it won't go away until a new one forms. So that's how that setting goes. And do whatever you want. If you wanted to do 50 and really bung up the chart, I mean, you could. But I wouldn't do that. I like 1 or 2. Okay, and then same thing. Default is 6 for the trend lines. That's kind of tight. 10 might be something that you would prefer, so you get less of them. In this case, didn't really change much, but try like a 50. There you go. So now that had to be, see the size of this pivot here before it printed one. So, I mean, those settings they're obvious. Okay. The last setting we need to look at, so we looked at, you can turn them on and off. You can define the strength. You can define how many lines. And this setting is default lines to off. So right now, if you don't have the setting, they'll default to on. So they're going to be on automatically. But there may be situations where you want the system to print the lines, but you don't necessarily want them to be on. So this would be like a semi-auto feature where you would be there watching and you would decide if you want to turn that line on or off, but you want to see it. So that's what that setting's for. It's more of a semi-auto feature. And then horizontal line trigger. So immediate or close. So if as soon as it touches the line on immediate, it'll throw a signal. On close, then it has to go beyond the line and then close. So you have that for the horizontals and you have that for the trend lines as well. And those are really that's really all the settings that there are. That's pretty much all you're going to be working with. And then down here it's just color. You know, if you want to change the color of the high trend line and then the center line, which is yellow when it's on. Yeah, just some settings there. I will show you displacement, signal, and label. So what you have to realize is, and I should have mentioned this, in this case there's a label and then there's an arrow. So the label doesn't actually have a name, it's just the arrow. That's going to be the signal. So just let me show you what I mean here. Some people might click the signal, or click the label name instead of the signal. Turn these on. Oh, I'm going to be too late. Oh, look at this. Okay. Okay, here we go. So there's two objects here. This is important, so pay attention. Okay, there's the arrow, and then there's the label. In this case, the label isn't selectable, only the arrow is. Now it's really close to the candle, so it's hard to click. But only the arrow is what's automatable. If you click the label, nothing's going to happen in this case, unlike other indicators I have. So, back to settings. So we did all the main settings. This is the color stuff now. Signal, displacement, and ticks. Okay, so the signal is the arrow. So if I wanted to do 8, watch where that sits after I hit 8. Now it disappeared. Because it refreshed. But anyway, so what that does is it offsets the signal and the arrow from those candles if they're too close. So the signal is going to be for the arrow, and then the label is like where the text is. That's going to be the offset. So I would probably do 12 or something. 8 for the signal, which is the arrow, and 12 for the label. And that just pushes it away from the candles, so it's not too close to it. And these settings will be a little different on every instrument, and that's just the nature of it. And then the last setting is hide signals after X bars. I think it's defaulting to 100. So what that means is after 100 bars, it's just going to delete the old labels, so they're not on the chart. And it just helps with performance and using up computer resources. And that's it. So I mean that's auto trend lines in a nutshell. Not much to it. It just works. So yeah, have fun with it. Try it out. It's a little bit different than some of the other indicators that we have. And there we go. Lines to off. Strength. Okay. That back down to like 5. There we go. So you can see it just yeah, and you can see the labels got pushed away a little bit. So, I mean, that's it. And then watch out. Soon I'll have the manual X lines come out, and you'll be able to draw them manually, use a fib. Yeah, this is really cool stuff. So let me know what you guys think of it. Thanks for watching.